my God. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I swear, like, look at this. It's like a shower.
I
Oh
feel
dear
like this
God.
part of my face is burned
I
because of
wasn't
the
as
light.
zen this time.
And this one
I
is
was not as
okay.
zen.
Oh, man.
Thank
What
you,
did,
guys.
what did you say your favorite meal is?
Pasta cooked by someone else.
Pasta cooked by
Yeah,
someone else. Is it
yeah.
because of the someone else
Because I
cooking that
love
you?
pasta, but the idea that like somebody else made it for me is just like even nicer because I don't have to go through the effort.
But what if it's overcooked?
But as long as they know how to cook it.
Yeah.
But as somebody who trained as a chef and has worked in food as long as I have, and people stop cooking for you because they're like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
And then no one ever cooks for you, and it's really sad.
Why would you cook if you have a chef in the house? Like
the chef doesn't want to cook all the time.
Come on. It's like a mission, life mission.
No, it's great, but sometimes it's nice if somebody else does it.
And welcome back to Fractured, a podcast by Refocus Media Labs, where we inform you about really important, in our opinion, issues related to human movement, refugees, asylum seekers, and so-called refugee crisis. Together with Rashid. Hello.
I'm just hot.
Yes. We cover the topics that we always find most important in our work. And Rashid brought this actually topic to me when we visited Saffron Kitchen.
Oh, really? It was my idea.
This was your idea.
I had no idea. It was my idea.
We are going to discuss food insecurity in Greece and how it impacts refugees. We thought that this is a good idea to speak about it, not only because it is an issue, but also because we have some solutions here in Athens that provide those good practices and do a really good job. And one of those people and her project is Evelina Eskenazi. Did I pronounce it well?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes, pronouncing Italian is really important to me. A founder and director of the Saffron Kitchen, who is based here in Athens. Welcome.
Thank you.
How to say saffron in Italian? Sorry.
Zafferano.
Saffron. It's the same as Arabic.
like
Zaffaran.
zafran. Yeah.
Zaffaran in Arabic.
Okay.
As soon as you asked me that question, I suddenly was like, I don't know. I couldn't remember it. Zafferano.
Wonderful. Okay. Before we get to this wonderful project, let's start with the problem. The food insecurity in Athens, as we learned recently, is a real problem. And it touches also refugees. In your research, in your work, how big is this issue?
Okay, starting with a big question. For the record, I don't think I could speak for everyone from what we found. We also did our research a few years ago before we set up. So we could say it's a bit dated. But there are a few reports that came out recently, especially post-COVID, that like 1 in 10 Greeks are unemployed. An Intersource report said that out of the people that they interviewed, over half of refugees and migrants only get 1 to 3 meals a week. So for us, you kind of don't really, you know, you have these numbers that are great and you have these studies, but you can also just see it in the streets of Athens and by talking to people. And that's kind of how we did it, how we found out what was needed. By speaking to people, speaking to organizations, those that are already working with people in need, and food just always came up as one of the top things people needed. Then if we consider like our mentality around it is that you need food before you need anything else in life, and post-COVID, and with inflation and everything that's happening in the world and how expensive things are getting, I don't think you need to do a lot of research to see that it's just something that people need.
Yeah, here in Athens, you definitely see it. I did a small research. I checked the Greek Food Bank, and they published the data from 2023. And there are lots of numbers, of course, but they say that they distributed 2 tons of food last year to 128,000 people, and they named those 3 groups that got most food were mostly in need. And first place are children, then elderly, then disabled, and on the 4th place we're naming migrants. I assume it's a very wide word here: refugees, asylum seekers, any person on the move. And they served around 12,000 migrants. And yes, other people maybe got more, but given the proportions, I guess, in the society, you can really say that it is a real problem among refugees. So you've been here for quite some time. Did you see it getting worse and worse with the refugee crisis?
I mean, I didn't really come. The first time I came was 2016, so I think I came at the same time as the crisis. But for me, it started more of a problem in the camps, and it was more a problem of quality of food, and not just quantity. Because I always find it interesting when people be like, "We gave away this many tons." I'm like, how did you measure that?
Yes.
Can you tell me? Because I'd really like to figure that one out. But we used to have to sadly throw away a lot of tons of food in the camps because it was inedible and it wasn't good. So for me, it kind of started being visibly a problem when people are not getting enough nutrients because they're not being offered enough of a sort of varied, healthy meal. I feel like I've forgotten the question. Can you repeat it before I go on a tangent?
No. I was asking if it, in your opinion, got
has
worse.
It gotten worse? Yeah,
time?
Of course. I think it has. I think I've touched on it earlier, with what's gone on in the world with COVID, with the prices going up. I'm sure everyone can agree prices of everything have gone up and salaries haven't. So how people can afford the same things, I don't know. Exactly. And I'm talking about your average Joe, not people in need as well. So yeah, in my opinion, definitely. And I can see it since starting SKP in how many meals we've grown to. We started, okay, fine, it was a new NGO and it's getting the word out and speaking to people and making sure that we have somebody that collected our food. But we started with 1,600 meals a month. And in July, we're doing 9,500.
Wow.
So that's in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's I don't really need to say anything else. That number kind of explains it.
Number tells everything.
Yeah.
Also in 2016, when I was in Iliona's camp, it was the only camp I think in Athens. So there was not a lot of people, so there was a lot of food, but the food was always shitty since the beginning. So people used to take it and cook it again, and then bring it in a home thing. But after that, when they start bringing more people, the food still was shitty, and then it was non-existing, and then became nothing, and then they were like, we're gonna give only to the people who had the papers. And one time they didn't even allow, because people were saying we need the food from inside, so it's called the mano a puerta, you know them? So it's just a bunch of guys, they put some money and they cook for refugees and immigrants and homeless people, so they didn't let them go inside and cook. They were like, you don't want to help people, you're a government, you don't want to help them, but can we go inside? They were like, no.
No, but I think that's I'm sure there's stories like that in nearly all the camps. I was in Ritsona and it was a very similar situation, because without getting too into it, but it's almost like a game, right? You've got a caterer that gets X amount of money, and it's a friend of the person who gets the budget in line, and so I remember one year we had caterers changing 3-4 times in the space of 2 months. And it wasn't the quality was getting better or anything. So it obviously wasn't about that. It was about who's kind of getting the funds. And the minute you bring in someone like a mano aperta who want to cook in the space, then you're, opening up another conversation of whether or not that food needs to be given by the catering companies. But the recooking stuff, I have some really good ones from Ritsona. When people, I was one of the first times they got chicken, and it was some horrible chicken, and they'd been given a biscuit donation, and a friend of mine, he crumbled the digestive biscuit, it has a sweet saltiness, and he breaded the chicken in it, and I swear to God, it was one of the best chickens I've ever had.
Wow.
So like,
Yeah,
you know,
my container, we were like 8 guys in one container, so we didn't know how to cook. We're just eating that shit. And next to us was the Africans. And we were smelling so much food, and we were like, who's giving you this food? They were like, no, it's this the same. And we were recooking it. So we started to give them our portion. They were cooking, we started eating together. But it was amazing. You don't believe that that thing came from that thing.
Kalaba,
just
don't you
completely
see that's the
different.
power of food?
Yeah,
Like it
it's,
brought like
so
two
simple.
people from different cultures, languages
Yeah, you
together,
see?
just like through some nice smell.
I thought they were getting
Food
some
is-
special treatment. I was
Yeah.
like, guys, I'm hungry.
No, food always brings people
Yeah.
together, right? Well, you touched upon the situation in the camps, and it's very problematic for me for so many reasons. But the food situation, the quality of food, as you said, is one thing. The other thing is like the people wait in those horrible long lines for such a long time. I remember when we first came to Moria, and this father, he told us that he goes into the line around 5 in the morning, even though they all know that they open the line at 8. But if he doesn't go around 5, he risks the situation that he will not get the food, because there are always slightly too many people than the meals they ordered. He comes back to his tent, he eats this breakfast with his family, and he goes back to the line for lunch. And this is how their day looks like. So this is such a not dignifying way of giving food, especially that those lines are in those like those like barriers, like you walk in like almost like a cage situation.
Yeah.
So that's for me very problematic. But the other thing I wanted to say, you mentioned the quality of food. I remember when I started first working in humanitarian area, I worked in Serbia, and there they were always counting calories. So it was most important to give people enough calories. It was something like 1,500 calories per person. And it never mattered what you give them as long as those are the calories. So sometimes when people would get oil for something, that would count as calories for the meal.
So that was all they were getting
yes,
to eat.
It was so ridiculous. And I remember that they would give every single day cans of tuna to everybody, even to little children. And like force a child to eat tuna, canned tuna, right? So I remember this guy, local guy, who was just like coming, buying those cans of tuna for like, I don't know, 10 cents, giving them the money. They would buy something else for this money, and he would sell it, of course, for much more, right? But this is how it was working. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
2-year-old, 3-year-old child gets a can of tuna. The can of tuna and a biscuit for breakfast was the regular breakfast.
I mean, if you look at the breakfast here in Greece in the camps, it was always those croissants.
Croissant and one small
And
juice.
juice. Yeah. Which was like, it's all pure sugar. There's nothing else in that.
And you have to go, like you said, from 5. So there are some people. I used to go do stuff and go to like learn Greek and stuff. So I see these people from the morning, and then when I come back afternoon, they are in the line. At night, they are in the line. So their whole day was. There's this grandpa who bring all his family. So all his life was he had a chair. He couldn't even walk. He would just stay from the morning, afternoon, and then at the end, dinner to bring food for his family.
I think maybe we had it kind of nice in Ritsona at one point with,
It was a
with
smaller
that stuff.
camp.
It was a smaller camp. Also, when we first started, things were pretty bad. Like it was a really, really awful situation. And like, I mean, we didn't have anything to give. It was like a bunch of NGOs, and not even NGOs, like scrambling together to make things work. And all you had was the catering. That was like the only official thing, like the water and the food. And I think it kind of brought the people staying there and the organizations together, because like the lining up was never... I take that back. The very first days, it would literally be from a container, and it was chaotic and hectic and horrible and totally degrading. And like you said, waiting in line for hours in the sun and stuff like that. And then we kind of created different ways of distributing, and then by that point it was smaller, and we started to get to know each other, and it was almost like, I think at one point we even tried to carry around like wheelbarrows to see if we could do it like that, and it didn't work, because then like the people from the community were like trying to carry the wheelbarrow. They're like, no, you don't do it, no, I'll carry it. And then it just became like more of a thing, like you come, you pick up the food, and like people were learning how to say the ingredients in Arabic or in whatever language the volunteers were speaking, and it just kind of became like a community thing. And then as soon as they were lucky enough to be able to leave the camp, when things started to settle down, then they were making their own food, and then like, you know, it would be like 8 a.m. distribution. I'd be half asleep getting like the clothes together, and somebody would bring me like Syrian breakfast and I'm like, oh, thank you. Like
So
it
nice.
just it was where I think we were lucky in that it's turned into a very big community, whereas other camps, I think it was just always
But even though the
problematic.
food here was shitty in the camps at here, but the one in Lesvos, because they have so many people passing by, they had one meal. It's called mjaddara. Mjaddara, when 2016, I stayed there for 2 days. I ate mjaddara 6 times. It's rice with lentils. It's a Syrian one, so they gave it to us in the morning, afternoon, and then at night.
But come to SKP and have it.
It's-
We do
it
it with
was-
bulgur and
So
tomato
now I
mix.
cannot.
It's delicious.
I came with 2 Syrian friends, and they had to stay there for a month. So they hated it. It was their favorite food in Syria. They hated it when you eat it.
Yeah.
3
Is it
times.
also like cheese for you?
Huh? No, it was not cheese.
You
Wow,
don't
if they-
maybe know the story,
if
but
they
Rashid
gave it-
cannot have cheese.
No, I can now,
I'm
but
so
just
sorry
before.
for your loss.
No, I couldn't eat cheese for 3 years after what happened to me in 2016. Because we were so hungry when we arrived, and then they gave us so much cheese. So I ate so many cheese at some point, and then it just blocked. Maybe I connected it with the
Was it
painful
always
experience.
the same
With
like
the- with the
feta
trauma.
as well?
Yeah.
Sometimes they give that really dry feta.
Do you think I tasted it? I just.
No, that was the one we had
Just
that,
ate
and
it.
they always give these like blocks of feta, and everybody
No,
in the
it was
camp
like
hated it.
sandwiches. So.
In sandwiches.
Yeah.
No, when we actually started SKP, like the first few weeks when we hired the first chefs, we used to say like, okay, because all of our chefs are from the refugee community, would say, okay, like, is there a dish? Is there an
Yeah,
ingredient that you've had some issues with? And one of our chefs couldn't eat lentils, and he was like, every day.
Couldn't.
No, same reason
Okay.
you couldn't eat
Oh
cheese.
yeah. So it's
He was
just.
like, every day they gave us lentils and it's this and
Yeah.
that. And he was like, even if I was hungry, I couldn't eat them anymore. They made me feel sick. So it became a thing. A lentil dish doesn't pass unless Chimuli can eat it. So if Chimuli approved the lentil dish, then it would go on our menus. And like, you know, reintroducing things like that. That's why I always joke that I'm like bringing back the pasta, because pastas in the camps were always like super overcooked, super under-seasoned, and super just awful.
You cannot call it pasta, to be honest. That was.
So
just,
as a proud Italian, I was like,
Yeah,
I'm going to bring it
it's-
back. We're going to
yeah.
bring, you know, Barilla's going to sponsor us, which they did temporarily. Please sponsor us
Oh.
again.
Nice.
And like, you know, we're putting in different ingredients, meat, veggies, smoked cheese, grated cheese, like whatever we can.
the
just to-
pasta, I remember we ate it like sandwiches because you open the thing and it's all stuck together. You just take it like, then you start eating it. It was not like pasta.
No.
No, it was like pasta, like one thing, and you have to eat it.
But that's
It
the
was
main
just
thing.
bad. I
Like,
don't know how. I think it was intentionally cooking bad, because I didn't cook good. But if they gave me to cook, I would cook better, even though I had no experience.
but everything
I don't
you've
know
just
why.
said, like both of you have just said, it was like, at the end of the day, it was just like about lack of respect, lack of
Yeah.
respect for the people and lack of respect for the food. So we won't respect you in the sense that we'll give you food that is good for your mind, body, and soul. We'll make you wait for it. It won't be delicious, like not even delicious. It won't be nutritious, because that block of pasta you ate, what
Yeah.
nutrition is in that?
Yeah, I remember this one time. One of our students, sent us a picture of a lunch today, and there were worms inside it.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yeah.
probably it was made days ago and not
A
kept
lot of mold.
properly. A lot, and. On this road to Moria camp, you could always see those boxes of food. Just people would just try it and throw it away, and
Yeah, that was same in
it's
Arizona.
food. I really wasting food is something I really can't stand. But they would always pack it in plastic boxes, lots of plastic, and the island was drowning in plastic. There was
Yeah.
no recycling for it, nothing for a very long time, and it was just there on the street. And also locals saw it, and they would make those comments
so
that like
many remarks. Yeah.
of course that like you're just like you think that this is not good enough for you. If you were hungry, you'd eat anything,
If I had a penny for every time somebody said that to me,
right?
like I could fund SKP for years. Surely if people are hungry, they'll just eat. And I was like, would you do the same? Like, do you not have self-respect? And like you say, like the waste, right? So you'd have these bins like filled up with these
Yeah.
plastic containers with this like slimy food, because at the end of the day, it always
Slimy.
seemed slimy. I don't know, it doesn't matter what it was
Mm-hmm.
slimy. And so it starts to have a smell, and then you start to like associate that, you know,
Yeah.
like rubbish, dirt,
Mhm.
unhealthiness. and it just builds up and builds up. And I think, for example, like the breakfast was so popular because it's like a packaged croissant. There's nothing else to it. It doesn't smell bad. Like, you know, you can have as many as you want and you're fine. But yeah, I mean, the look when somebody would come up and they were collecting their drinks and their food or whatever, and then they'd be like, what's the food? And you'd show them, and that like their face would just drop. And like, it's not, you know, we didn't make the food, that's not, but we are still the ones distributing it. You like, if it felt like shit, sorry, like it just wasn't, because you go, what can I can't do anything, I can't change this right now. And like you said, it might be who was saying the grandfather with the big family, or like somebody's coming and he's tired and he's collecting for his children, his family, who's whatever, and knowing that he goes back with this thing that nobody wants to eat, and unless they could get out to the markets, unless they had the money to buy extra stuff, they had to literally just eat that.
The problem here is also that many of those camps are very far away from any type of centers, shops, and so on. Like Moria was really far. They finally built this gigantic Lidl, but this was more than 5 kilometers away. And there were like really no tiny shops around it. With time, then locals figured out that this can be a good business. That they put those 2 trailers. They were selling some like burgers, Coca-Cola, and things like this.
Like
so also truck. It was a food truck, but like with pre-made stuff predominantly. They would only heat it up in microwaves, right? So also not healthy food, but sometimes they would bring some bananas or something, and you could buy this at least for children. But what is also like maybe positive in this situation, that so many people organize their own business inside the camp. A family of our teacher,
I was about to say that,
they made this oven where they would bake this delicious bread. It was so amazing, and everybody wanted it. They had lines non-stop. They would just like go to this Lidl back and forth to buy more flour for it.
No, we had a lot of falafel stands.
Is Skaramakas? Did you go to Skaramakas?
No, I mean in Ritsona. In Skaramakas probably also.
They had next to the sea, and they had all these shops, falafel, like 16 of them, and they were all playing Fayrouz. She's a famous Lebanese, like very old singer. And you just feel like you're in, they call it Sham. It's the whole like Lebanon, Damascus, Syria. They used to call it Sham. And it was just amazing. And then they started telling them, you should pay tax or leave, something like this. And they were like harassing them to leave. But I remember in, I think it was in Lyonas, a guy was just selling bread, and they took his oven. The camp manager took it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, we were lucky while I was there that didn't happen. And it went on for years, because it came up a lot in conversations, in like coordination things, like, are they going to come and close them down? Are they going to start taxing them? What are they going to start doing? And luckily, or at least while I was there for a few years, nothing happened. The only competition was like, which falafel stand is better? Is it the guy down there? I was, unpopular opinion, I liked the one further down. But since then I really struggled to eat falafel.
That's my thing as well.
It was €1. It was like giant. And
with a sandwich, like the whole sandwich.
Yeah, the whole thing. And this guy later, he got his paper, he went to Sweden, and he told me he's selling it €8 there. And they are like, wow, this is so cheap, €8. And then he had to come back. He said, I missed it. And he stayed here after all.
One of the falafel stands, she used to like slice the lemons really thin and put them inside. And then one guy started doing kebabs, and that just threw everything
like really
off.
cooking.
Yeah. The minute he got kebabs going, everyone was just like,
they are so creative.
Buy falafels.
They are so creative.
Yeah.
Considering like they were doing it with minimum equipment and stuff. But yeah, the second to last time I went to Ritsona, this little street that had it was like part of the lines between the ISO boxes. There were like 3 or 4 of these food stands. And then this time I went, it was like phone shops, hairdressers. There was like neon lights. I was like, I'm on the Edgware Road in London.
It's everywhere like this, right? Whichever camp you go to, people always find their ways.
To be self-sufficient, that's it. There's no help coming outside, so they just discover.
But that's what we have to do instead of just Hannah. You have to help people become self-sufficient.
Exactly.
You know, because that's also how you don't waste stuff.
Yeah.
So. As we were saying, also the big problem is the waste in the camp, around the camp, and this really pains
me. Of resources in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this goes beyond food, but let's stick to food now, because it's. I think that's something that we also worry about a lot at SKP. And it's something that, also donors and people always come up to, like, how do you avoid waste? How do you avoid waste? How do you avoid waste? I don't think anyone has the answer. Otherwise, the world wouldn't be, creating as much waste as we do. But our idea, our slogan is very simple. You just cook food people want to eat.
Yeah.
So
No waste.
make food that's nice and people are not going to throw it away. Obviously, I can't say that it's like a foolproof. And what I find good, you might not, and whatever. But I think if you put love and respect and multiple spices in a dish, the chances are that people can feel that through the food and they can...
No Polish people, though. They hate spices. It's only salt that is accepted.
I know,
I swear.
it's quite difficult.
In Poland, we use salt and a bit of pepper. That's
Everywhere
it.
in Poland, there's no reason that...
No. Food is very plain. Like, there's nothing there. I swear.
I mean, if you want to talk food, we can talk food. Then if you talk to the Italians, they'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter as long as you've got like good ingredients and like olive oil and that's all you need. And then you go to America and they've put onion powder and garlic powder and everything. And so, of course, it depends on taste.
Like the thing I really love about community cooking and not just like waiting in a line getting something, but like really having this like something to say in what you actually are gonna eat, is that people learn from it, from each other, the recipes and so on, but it also brings them together. And I remember when one time our students cooked this kobli palau for us here in Athens, and it was only men. Men were cooking, women were not there. And the men were just like, one of them was like, so great that women are not here because I can eat with my hands. Because this is the traditional way of eating.
Okay.
You just scoop and eat the rice. And I was like, my wife never allows me to. She says, now we're in Europe, I cannot do that anymore. It was a delicious meal, I swear. It was absolutely amazing.
I mean, I feel like I just keep bringing it back to SKP, but the reason I am is because we've had these conversations, like it was a couple of years in the making, and obviously we've been through all these things to kind of discuss what it is that people need and stuff like that. So what we try to do is also creating, like using recipes of things that people know from their own countries. Okay, I can't say we cover them all, but we'll have Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, throwing in new things, and that way, like somebody can say, "Hey, this is something that I ate in my country," and they'll be like, "That's not how my mother made it." Or they'll like, "Okay, what's this? Where's it from? Let me learn about it a bit more." And then maybe they're sitting next to somebody from that country, and that person says to you, "Oh, this is from my country, and this is how we eat," and like, "Oh, we have something similar to that," and it starts the conversation, it starts dialogue. Or you're sitting in your icebox and you smell something from next door and you go and learn what it is. Like, it's just a way to start a conversation and bringing people together. Because actually, at the end of the day, you said in Poland you only use salt and pepper. But if I was to say to you, like, tell me about Polish food, you'd get pretty excited, right? You'd like tell me about your favorite bits. And
I would get excited if we'd speak about Italian food, Thai food.
But there's some pride in everything. I mean, even the English are proud of their food.
Pierogi, okay.
Exactly. And then we could start talking about that, and like, it's like a raviolo, and then you'd be like, oh, it's like sambusek if you wanted. Like it's like a dumpling. It's like and then it's another way to realize that we're kind of all the same. We just got the same ingredients and made them slightly different, and that's what we all are.
It's so simple. Does it require a lot of effort? I remember there was one protest one time with women in Elionas. They were shouting at them, "Give us ingredients. We don't want this food."
Ingredients.
We're gonna cook. And at some point they tried it. It was amazing. They just come and they start giving you just 2 tomatoes, 2 potatoes, and then you could smell like amazing stuff. And then they stop.
But the excuse they're always giving is that if people were to cook for themselves, they would make a fire in the camp, and this is always
no one's believing that. They know that it's not that. It's all political. It's all about who's getting what funds and money, and it's control. At the end of the day, it's control.
It's control. Okay, now we're going to take a very short break, and during this break you will see how Evelina and her project works. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
At Saffron Kitchen Project, our mission is to use food to create community and a pathway to employment for vulnerable people in Athens. To us, food is about love, it's about sharing, it's about learning from each other, it's about giving a helping hand with respect. It's something that can bring us joy, memories, and it is vital to our everyday living. We want to help bridge the gap between local and visiting communities. And we do this by working with local suppliers who deliver ingredients directly to our hub in Kypseli. All of our chefs come from the refugee community, and myself and the head chef work together to try and create meals that are inspired by Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cooking to ensure that we cook things that people would like to eat, flavors that they recognize, and things that maybe they don't, but they'll enjoy. We use their experience to understand problems in prepackaged food that they have received before and try to change the stereotype to ensure that people will actually enjoy pre-cooked food.
I remember when I was in the camp in Samos. I went to receive the food when I was really hungry. Nobody ate this food. It was completely bad, and I was really hungry. Compared to the food that we cook here, I feel we cook with dignity.
For us at Saffron Kitchen Project, collaboration is absolutely key. We wouldn't be able to reach the people that we do if it wasn't for our partners. What these organisations do is have women's shelters, community centres, they provide street aid, and they come and collect the meals from us and distribute it out to the people that need it most.
The importance of the Saffron Kitchen Project's food is that it gathers people together. Yeah, it is something that connects people, and in our community space at lunchtime we have a lot of people from different cultures coming together, eating together, having a safe space, good time, warm meal.
SKP, Saffron Kitchen Project, do care about the quality of the food, how the young people will have taste this food, because they know what the meaning of good food. And that's why Saffron Kitchen Project is collaborating with us, and we are honored to work with them.
It's just something really warm to give and to see that people can share then this moment of peace and having a good meal, and Saffron Kitchen is providing this to us.
It's not just cooking, it's how you add special spices and love. That's the spices, the love and the care inside this small container.
For sure, SKP is one of the best.
What we really try to achieve through our food is completely change the way that, let's say, the traditional soup kitchen is seen. Food is love, food is strength, food is energy, food is family, culture, and we want everyone who eats our food to feel that.
And welcome back after the break. Hope you enjoyed the video of Evelina and the Saffron Kitchen Project. By the way, we're talking a lot about SKP, which is the Saffron Kitchen Project, right?
Thank you. I forget to explain that.
So that we are clear about this. Wonderful to have you. We were talking a lot about how food for refugees look like in camps and what are the problems with it. But we would like to go now more into this positive side, which means solutions.
So, Evelyn, for 5 years you were running a warehouse in a refugee camp, and you were setting up as well and managing education and community center. What are the skills you learned during this period to help you start Saffron Kitchen?
Thank you for stalking me on the internet.
Yes, I did everything I can.
He's famous for that.
Well, if you dug a little deeper, you would know that. No. What skills? To be fair, I have to go. Genuinely, I'm going to go further back. Yep. I'm a university dropout who went to culinary school.
Dropout, really?
Yes, wow. And then I worked in the food industry for many years.
6 years. I know. I know.
Name my top MySpace friends.
It's scary.
It's terrifying, right? So I actually think that the skills I learnt to work in the warehouses and the community centers I got from food, from working in a kitchen, from time management and organization and things like that. So I think by the time I got to the food side, it was just the two different careers in one. Just sort of clicked, made sense. They worked together. I guess to answer your question directly, though, I guess the main thing is patience and understanding that you can't fix everything. And, you know, maybe in a kitchen you can add salt, remove salt, add a citrus, add a acid, sweet, whatever it is. And in life and in this field, you can't fix everything, but you can only try and do what is in front of you. And I think especially nowadays when things seem to be getting worse and more difficult, let's say for humanity, you kind of have to concentrate on the small that you can do. And that again comes back to patience. And I think exposure to other people and other cultures and religions helped me at least with, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have respect before, but at least new way of respect and communication to people, and trying to find alternative ways to communicate. So now I think it's something I always had. I always communicated through food, but now in very different ways. Does that answer the question?
Yep.
Okay.
Saffron Kitchen runs on 3 pillars: nourish, train, and employ.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So what are these?
I've actually renamed them. I named these ones and then I renamed them. So nourish.
Research didn't show that.
No, but because this is the
website.
official,
Yeah.
and then I've just realized I was about to tell you about them, and I keep changing the names. Nourish, I now call aid. But no, they're the same thing. So nourish is the aid side in that it's where we cook meals for vulnerable communities in Athens. So for us, we say vulnerable communities because it means anybody who needs a meal.
Yeah.
Or anyone in need, and anyone we don't really judge. We have people that come to get takeaway meals from our space, and you know, everyone's asks like, oh, do you ask for papers? Do you ask I don't know. If somebody comes and asks us for a meal, we have to hope that they come from a place of understanding. This is for those who need it, and they'll take if they need. So nourish or aid is about creating food that people like, cooking with respect, cooking with love. We are, like I said before, we went from 1,600 meals to now 9,500 next month. We create food from all different cultures. Most of the recipes are mine or our head chef, Adel, who's from Syria. He's been with us since day one. We try to create little food communities, so all of our suppliers are local, our greengrocers, our halal butcher. We now, in 2 years, have cooked about 140,000 meals. We've partnered with 35 organizations. These organizations come pick up food from our space and distribute it out through Athens. So for us, that means a wider reach. And I'm sure there's other things I should say, but that's nourish. Employment is the next one.
It's train.
Train, see? Like I call train opportunity now, because in explaining a training, I'm saying it's offering opportunities. So this is where we partner with EEC Delta, which is a Greek lifelong learning center that offers culinary training. And we put refugee and migrants through this training. We started with a basic culinary skills, and now we do advanced. And it's basically preparing people to work in a professional food setting. We have had 110 students.
That's a lot.
Graduating. Yeah, we had about, now I'm really throwing out numbers, 350 applicants, something like that. We interview people based on which course we're doing and availability and language skills. And then the students do the course through EEC. With EEC, you get an accredited certificate, which is recognized within Greece, which is fantastic because a lot of the time you might have a CV of experience in your home country and you bring it to Greece and somebody doesn't understand what that means. They can recognize EEC and they know that means you've had some access to like a Greek company and training.
And
Sorry.
do you know how many people of those whom you trained actually got a job opportunity?
Yes. So currently, I'll finish it quickly to say what we do after that. Once you graduate, we do an employability training with you. So like what it's like to be employed in Greece, what your rights are, and what a contract looks like. Then we help them write their CVs, and then we help them find work if that's what they want to do. So we say that about over half of our students have found work, either through us or after they've done the training with the certificate. We've had some students that had jobs already lined up, but after receiving their certificates, could go back to their employers and go, I now have extra training. You should probably pay me more. And right now, we've been weirdly lucky, but we have a lot of job opportunities and none of our students are looking. So, or at least haven't responded to any of our requests. So it's pretty successful. And part of the reason that SKP started and why Train is one of the pillars is because we wanted to do something that was all based around food. Food is the focus of what we do, but its different powers. So like, okay, I can feed, but I can also then learn to be able to feed my family or myself with the money that I get from working in food. So it's like it's a constant circle around food. And what better industry in Greece than the hospitality one?
How long is the training period?
It's quick. It's 60 hours.
Okay.
Sorry, that's the basic. The advanced is 120. But we did it quite short on purpose because people need to get the training, get the certificate, and find work. So if we go over 2 months, there's a higher dropout rate. Like for the first, I think 4 or 5 cohorts, we didn't have dropouts.
Nice.
So like I think the length of the time really helps. And then the last thing we do is employ, and that means that everybody from in the kitchen that we hire is from the refugee community. We're giving job opportunities to that community, like to also show, promote legal work and work-life balances, also to the hosting community, and then also helping out the people doing the training. We also bring the employment over to that side as well.
With the courses, because Chrisa also from Armonia told us they're doing the same. It's the same or it's a different thing?
No, as far as I know, I think Armonia, they do them in-house.
Oh, they train them there.
They train them in their
own
kitchen space. Yeah. I think they got the qualifications to be like a center that does trainings within their space, whereas we outsource it to EEC, which is a bunch of professional chefs that do the teaching.
You mentioned that you're working with many partners, that people come take food from you. And in a broader scale, it is so important actually to work in some kind of holistic way. When we were talking with Better Days, our partner here, they always bring this idea that we really have to work in like an octopus, that there's like a center, but there are different legs and everybody has something right to offer. And they were mentioning a lot how their students, when they come and they do not have access to food, how difficult it is for them to focus during classes. Because if you're really hungry, if you haven't had breakfast and lunch and then you're in the evening classes, you really feel it, right? And if this is something that repeats almost every day, then it's a huge problem for students to actually learn something. You lose your energy, you lose your passion for things.
I mean, and there you're talking about, I assume like children as well, or minors. Like, I don't think anyone can focus on doing anything if you don't have a meal in your stomach. Like when people say, oh, you come here, try and find a job, try and learn the language, like your brain can't focus if you're hungry. Also, if you're constantly worrying about where the next meal is coming from, if you don't have that certainty, like you're just going to continue to be worried. You're not going to be able to, let's say, like not achieve, but at least put your head to something else. And so that's something we want to do. Okay, fine, we're not serving 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, but at least that reassurance, okay, today I know where my meal's coming from. Today I know that I can feed my family or just myself.
This is so important.
It's very
to know that you will get the next meal, right? I cannot imagine that somebody doesn't know where this meal is going to come from and if it will be possible for me to feed my children. That's a really scary perspective. I wanted to ask, you work with any vulnerable communities, right? There is no difference where they come from. I assume you have predominantly refugees and asylum seekers. Do you see a difference in genders, age groups, who predominantly takes food from you?
I'll do a quick brain scan of our partners. No, I think it's pretty balanced actually. Perhaps in our takeaway meals, we see predominantly men. And that's more people, locals, not necessarily Greeks, but at least local to the Kypseli community. And there still could be migrants and refugees.
Steps also come and take from
Steps
you, right?
come from us. We've got everything from women's shelters to women's spaces to youth spaces, community centres. We're currently also running the VCC cafe we have for a few months.
In Victoria Centre.
So yeah, I would say to me it seems like it's a bit of a mix. Children-wise, it really depends on what organisations are collecting from us. And with children, I always get a bit worried because we were at one point giving food to the nest, and I just got really concerned that like children wouldn't want to eat these meals, right? Like thinking of like Italian children that we just want pasta. And I was like, fancy I don't know, vegetable fajita. And apparently it was fine and people were eating the food. So no, I haven't noticed a predominant group, and more it's different nationalities.
When did you start?
SKP?
Yes.
Saffron Kitchen Project. So I started technically we registered in 2021, but it was a whole setup. So we became operational in April 2022.
Okay, so you skipped the COVID basically almost.
Yeah, I think COVID was part of the reason that I had the idea. Like, what can we do? You know, I don't know how long you've all been in Athens, but...
Since 2016, yeah.
2016 Athens, okay. So, like, I don't know if it was a very different place back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'm like the good old days.
No, they were not the good old days.
They were not the good old days. But I was working in a education community center, and we had a full building, like full. We had 15 extracurricular activities, 4 languages, 100 people coming every week. Like really, it was doing really, really well. And then COVID hit. And suddenly everybody just disappeared. Yeah. And it was a really strange time. Like everything just went quiet and it didn't seem to pick up. And projects were closing and, you know, and just before that, everybody was going, okay, things are settled. Let's look at integration, next step development. And I kept saying, guys, it's like, no, things aren't just chilled. It's not just going to stay at this. And then COVID hit and it got even weirder. And I still don't think we're out of that. I still don't understand what happened fully. But I kept saying, people are going to still come. Aid is still needed. You cannot only concentrate on the next steps in development. Also, because in my very humble opinion, integration can only come from a higher level, as in like a government that helps integrate communities. The only way for community to fully, and the way that we do it as smaller NGOs or just as individuals, has an effect, but on a much smaller scale. And so there's only so much that we can do for somebody to fully integrate. So I just was thinking like ways in which we can help people first survive and then figure out life and thrive in their own ways. But you kind of have to have a balance of both, in my opinion.
The first days of the lockdown here in Athens, everybody was freaking out. They didn't know what the hell is this virus. So Hora did a great job. They were taking food to people's places. So you go there, you register, you put your number and your address, and they go and give it to you. They had many people, but they had some volunteers did it, and they risked their lives, and they were.
But logistically, that's like to cover a bigger group. That's
yeah, they
really
were covering Kypseli and Amirikis, like.
But it was really great. I remember seeing a video of like people. It was like somebody on a bicycle, somebody carrying, like everybody carrying meals. That was really lovely to see. Yeah,
I don't know if back in 2016, because we weren't here, if it looked the same, but the problem with homelessness, which we talked about in the previous episode, is really huge right now in Athens. You see homeless people almost everywhere. And I was thinking about it in terms of food, right? And it seems to me like to many of those communities, nobody goes, nobody reaches those communities with food. It seems like they are left completely alone. And I don't know if 2016 it was also like this, and then 2020 when COVID hit. I was wondering what was happening to people back then, people who actually live on streets.
There was steps with Tassos. It's a Greek organization. It's not, they don't have a lot of funds. So he's working with the addicts and homeless. So he used to give them food. So because I met him 2018 and he said he was doing it for many years.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of those kind
like
of allosanthropos. Is that how you say
yeah,
it?
allosanthropos, mano a puerta, but
Yeah.
just, you know, small scale and just
Very, very small scale.
some students.
But you know, there are larger food banks. I think it's just harder to have access to, especially as you say, for the people on the streets. I find if you were to just say like visually, if there are more people on the streets now than before, I would have said 2016. You'd think there were more.
Oh, interesting.
And there's this report on Vice, which is really good if you ever get around to seeing it, like ages ago, about the drug issues in Athens and how it came after the crash, and how a lot of these homeless people, as Steps covers, as like also addicts and things like that, because it came as a natural. And there's no support. There's no social support in Athens for these things. There's also no social housing in Athens on the larger scale. And I think all of these things kind of morph together. But what I'm finding recently is that it's not that they just all found houses and got off the streets. They're just being moved. Yeah. And so it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind sometimes. I don't know if you know, like just right here next to the university, there used to be a street.
Yeah, there used to be.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
After
There used
COVID,
to be like so many, and the police would come and take them somewhere else.
Where?
Every time, arresting them and taking them a different place, and then they are not there, and now they are down, right?
Yes, but even then, they still were in Metaxurgio, so it's not like they just became a bigger Metaxurgio area. And in this Vice place, they were showing that they were literally being arrested. They were arresting the homeless and moving them, and this was like years ago. So I think they just keep doing this. And you know, for us, we've been told, you know, if you're giving people food on the streets, be a bit careful. Steps have said to us, like, we stamp our food, so our packages have our logo on them, just to be like, you know, it's from us, so people know, like, it's from somebody, like, we're giving it to you, so you know it's from us, and it can also hold us accountable if you if you don't like it. But the idea is that there's that, and he told us, like, stop putting it on our portions because if the police get involved, it could be problematic. And so a lot of the time when there's people arriving in Victoria Square, and maybe some other partners call us and say, hey, can you bring some meals, going back on what you were saying about organizations working together. We have to be really careful. So we can't put our logos in it, or we have to be careful when we hand it out, how we hand it out, because if the police decide, like, in that moment, they want to stop something, wait, you're giving aid, which means you're helping these people stay here, and we want them to leave for the summer because we can't imagine the tourists would have to see anything so awful. You know,
they did it to Steps, so because they had a place on Athena Street. We used to go and cook there 2018, and then I went in
front of the market, no?
Yeah, near the market. So, and I went away, and they came back, and I found it was a police station, not like officially, just I don't know, something with the police there. And then I heard that Tassos was being prosecuted or something like that. They were coming after him many times because he was also working with the addicts. They were telling him that you are selling them drugs. But
you're supporting the issues, you're supporting
the problem.
Exactly.
And there used to be also an NGO, I don't know the name, they used to come with these vans. They have
the washing ones. What were they called?
Washing machines, and people would wash their clothes and stuff.
I don't remember.
But it was like once a week. It was a Sunday.
You know this.
But this was all support for the homeless, which now you cannot do it. They'll give you problems.
Yes.
But we had the same thing in Serbia when I started with this food program, and people, they wouldn't allow us to go into the camp, even though this was the tuna can situation. They wouldn't allow even to give products because they kept claiming that if something is rotten, broken, somebody gets sick of it, then we are to blame, and it's not like tested, but we are giving raw products, right?
Yeah.
Bananas, apples, rice, packed, everything. And even this was basically cut off at some point.
I mean, that's like the health and safety. We have a joke in England that you can't do anything because of health and safety, right? And you can't give out any food, like restaurants, schools, like nothing. If you have any food left over, you cannot give it to the person who is sleeping on the street right in front of the shop, because if there's something wrong with it and they get food poisoning, you're liable. And and then suddenly it's like everyone's too scared to help each other out. They're making it hard for you to help, because then they can control the narrative.
But they are not helping the issue.
Yes, but
there is a need. If you're not gonna fill it, let other people. But they don't.
But but that's the thing. They don't want other people to fill it, basically.
Yeah.
How did you operate in Ramadan? Do you have a special thing?
No, I mean all of our portions are takeaway.
Okay.
They're packaged, so you can also eat them after you break fast, and we provide dates a couple of times throughout, like little packs of dates that we get through like other collaborations with other partners and stuff. But difficult. Our chef this year, he managed the whole time.
Really?
I do it with him in solidarity. No, I do a little bit with him as well. But he went through the whole like heat waves and things. I was very impressed with him. Because in the kitchen, it's even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hot.
Early morning start. But early morning start, the smells.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you taste it? We had a recipe testing thing, and I was doing it that day with him, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it today because we're recipe testing. And then he was like, no, and I was like, so much respect. I packed everything up for him, and he tried it home, and then I get a text being like, this needed salt.
That's so awesome.
That's it. Future plans for
Future plans. Yes. Well, apparently we're going to do some cooking shows with Refocus.
Oh, yeah. we booked it for
it's been said now. Yes. It has to happen. I don't know. I have hopes. I have dreams. Even if they don't come realities. I'd really love for our cookbook to become a reality at some point. That just needs time. And I think ultimately if we can move into a new space, because we've slightly outgrown. We love being in the Anchor Project building. Love our collaboration. It's a great location. It's a wonderful place to work with other people. But our kitchen's getting too small, so we'd quite like a larger kitchen, and maybe with a cafe or restaurant attached to it, so that we can start charging people for food.
Do it.
So that the food can, the charged food can help pay for the food of people who can't pay for it. So like I don't know, watch this space. In a year's time I'll be like, sayonara, it didn't work. No, but hopefully. Cool.
Inshallah. Wonderful. Thank you very much. This is all we had for you today. In 2 weeks' time, we have our last episode of the season, so make sure you check it, because it's going to be a very special one. Another very special one. We only have special episodes. Okay. Thank you very much to our partners and sponsors. Thank you very much to Allianz Foundation, Choose Love, Aperture for giving us those wonderful lights. Thank you very much for supporting this community. And remember, if you would like to be one of our patrons, you could go to patreon.com and give us monthly as little as what one coffee costs. We would very much appreciate that. Thank you very much, and see you in 2 weeks' time. One more time, your view about pizza. Pizza with pineapple, yes or no?
No. Hard no.
Okay. Pizza with pepperoni?
Yes. I actually really like it.
Okay. Pizza with corn.
Ew.
The worst thing ever.
Pizza with watermelon. I mean, no, you have watermelon here and a pizza, and you do this.
I can eat watermelon as a pizza. Just cut it, slice it.
No, together. It's amazing.
Also, corn only has one place. It's either popped
corn, no, I don't like it.
Or on the cob. This is a very strange thing, but I can eat it if it's on the cob, but if it's individual granules, it annoys me.
I have exactly the same, and I don't know what this
Thank
is
you.
about. And only from a barbecue.
It's like a completely different thing.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Guys,
butter.
I feel so seen.
Right? But also because maybe it's not roasted.
It's a, maybe
Yeah,
because,
that's
and there's a lot of butter on it when you
Yeah,
put
but
it on
also the
barbecue.
individual is like that sweet surprise you weren't asking for. Like, why are you in my tuna salad?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.